హాయ్ గైస్, గుడ్ మార్నింగ్. వెల్కమ్ టు అవర్ ఛానల్ రూబిక్స్ హెల్పింగ్ హ్యాండ్. సో ఇది ఈ రోజు స్పెషల్ వీడియో అండి. ఇది ఏంటంటే నేను నిన్న ఒక సెమినార్కి అటెండ్ అయ్యాను. సెమినార్ మన హైదరాబాద్ టీ హబ్ లో జరిగింది. సో అక్కడ మెయిన్ ఎజెండా ఏంటంటే ఈ ఏఐ ఇప్పుడు మన జీవితాల మీద ఎటువంటి ప్రభావం చూపిస్తుంది, చాలా మంది జాబ్స్ కోల్పోతాము అది అంటున్నారు. సో దాని మీద ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ అడ్వైస్, టిప్స్, మనం ఎట్లా దానికి ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వాలి, సో మన కెరీర్ లో గ్రో అవ్వాలంటే ఏఐని యూజ్ చేసుకుని ఎట్లా, సో అది ఎంతవరకు మన లైఫ్ మీద దాని ఎఫెక్ట్ ఉంటుంది, అలాంటి డీటెయిల్స్ అన్ని ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ చెప్పారండి. ఇది ఇండియన్ సొసైటీ ఆఫ్ ట్రైనింగ్ అండ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ ISTD 2024. సో వాళ్ళ చాప్టర్ లో ఈ రోజు సెషన్ జరిగింది. సో మల్టిపుల్ కంపెనీస్ నుంచి ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ వచ్చారు, వాళ్ళ వాల్యుబుల్ సజెషన్స్ ఇచ్చారు. అవి ఏంటంటే మొత్తం ఇది ఇంగ్లీష్ లోనే ఉంటుంది. సో చాలా ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్ గా ఉంది. మంచి క్వశ్చన్స్ అడిగారు చాలా మంది Q&A సెషన్ లో. సో ఆ డీటెయిల్స్ కూడా నేను ఇందులో పెడుతున్నాను. సో మొత్తం వీడియో అరౌండ్ 1 hour ఉంటుంది. సో ఎవరైతే ఏఐ గురించి తెలుసుకోవాలి, ఇండస్ట్రీ ఎక్స్పర్ట్స్ నుంచి అడ్వైస్ రావాలి, తెలుసుకోవాలి, మనం ఎట్లా అప్స్కిల్ చేసుకోవాలి, ఏఐని ఎట్లా యూజ్ చేసుకోవాలి, ఈ డీటెయిల్స్ అన్ని ఈ Q&A సెషన్ లోని వాళ్ళ ఇంట్రడక్షన్ లోని మొత్తం ఉందండి. సో వీడియో ఎక్కడ మిస్ కాకుండా మొత్తం చూడండి. మీకు ఏఐ అంటే ఏంటి, దాని మీద మనకుండే భయాలు కానీ అపోహలు కానీ ఎలా తొలగించుకోవాలని చాలా క్లియర్ గా చెప్పారు. సో వితౌట్ ఫర్దర్ డిలే మన వీడియోలోకి వెళ్ళిపోదామండి.
For our next session, AI Enhanced L&D Junction. But before we start, I have an announcement to make. So like I told you before you went for break, you know we all love L&D, right? Especially Indian Society of Training and Development really cares about your learning and development, and we also appreciate the kind of effort we put in that area. So guys, the announcement is we are coming up with L&D Awards, ISTD L&D Awards in April, and so we are opening nominations very soon, okay? So that would be absolutely free of cost for all of you who want to nominate yourself individually and from your organization side, all right? So L&D Awards coming up in April, guys. Thank you so much, and I would call upon Shakti to make an announcement, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Akhila. So for our next session, may I please call Ms. Sirisha Komireddy, Associate Vice President and Global Head of Talent Development and Signity Technologies, as the moderator for the next session, AI Enhanced L&D Junction. With her extensive expertise in talent development, HR, organizational development and change management, Sirisha is dedicated to facilitating enhanced learning and development opportunities. As a DEI evangelist and certified NLP practitioner, she brings a unique perspective to the table, fostering inclusive conversations and empowering attendees to leverage AI for optimizing learning strategies. Welcome, Sirisha.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Srilata Kolchana onto the stage, please. As the Director of Learning and Development at CGI, she brings in a wealth of expertise in organization development, talent management, and leadership training, with a focus on building competency frameworks and fostering diversity. Ms. Srilata is sure to provide invaluable insights during our session today. Welcome, Ms. Srilata. Coming up next, it is my honor to introduce Ms. Gauri Banjar Butti, Vice President Learning and Development with Wells Fargo. With 19 plus years of extensive experience in IT and pharma industries, as a certified practitioner in various assessment methodologies, including Harris's Assessment, Korn Ferry, Hogan, DISC International, Ms. Gauri brings a wealth of expertise in talent development and organization transformation again. Welcome, Ms. Gauri. All right, coming up next, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Sudipta Mukherjee, Senior Manager Learning and Development from Verizon, a seasoned professional dedicated to enhancing organizational value and achieving customer delight. With expertise in managing global training operations, instructional design, and budgeting, Mr. Mukherjee brings a wealth of knowledge to the stage. Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee. Next, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce Ms. Shiksha Pathak, Head Learning and Development Global Manufacturing Operations from Dr. Reddy's. She has a global perspective on talent development and with a wealth of experience in partnering with business leaders and driving transformation learning strategies, she again brings in lot of knowledge with her. So welcome, Ms. Srilata. Thank you. Shiksha. Thank you everybody, and now I would request Sirisha to please moderate the session.
Post-lunch sessions are usually extremely excruciating because we don't want to really sit through a session, but please bear with us. We do have an interesting panel here with us today. We do have leaders from BFSI, from IT services, telecom, and pharma manufacturing sector. So that's the kind of diverse panel that we have today. We're going to bring in the perspective of L&D in each one of these industries through this interesting session. But with your permission, let's do this a little different. Instead of having a direct Q&A with you, I would like to take the participants' perspective on what they want to understand today from this panel. Is that okay with you? Perfect, thank you. Do we have mic runners there? Thank you. So you get to ask 3 questions about L&D, impact of AI in L&D, very specific, and then we try and answer those. Is that okay?
Hello. Yeah. Just going into leadership development in general in L&D, how is it going to help them understand their weaknesses on the behavioral aspects?
So that's the question. Probably I'll request Gauri to answer on leadership development. Do you want me to share the mic?
Sure. I was honestly doing active listening, but I'm just going to paraphrase the question. You referred to, sorry, didn't get your name.
I'm Srikanth.
Srikanth, your question was more around what is the significance of weaknesses. I mean, when a leader gets to understand their areas of development, how do we build on that?
How does AI help him?
Sure. So I can definitely, speak with you from my own experience of being able to work across different, different organizations. One of the aspects that we have implemented is obviously Strengths Finder, where you get to understand what your strengths are. Now, when we incorporate an AI tool to be able to understand and demystify strengths and areas of development, it helps the individual to be able to create milestones, right? So today the individual is at a certain level and the individual aspires for another role for that matter. So it becomes like a total map where they understand today I am here. Sorry, yeah.
My idea is to understand, once all these things are done,
Yeah.
how is it going to help him move forward?
Or
I'm sorry, I could not place it properly.
Yeah.
This was the question that I was asking.
Yeah, so after the analysis is done, there are beautiful tools available today where we, kind of incorporate mentoring, we incorporate coaching, we incorporate various forms of talent development so that the individual nurtures their strengths further and also is self-aware of what their areas of development are. They get opportunities to work on it within the current role. And in the long run, it helps the individual to be able to take that more informed next role, which is aligned to their strengths. That's the overall thought process.
Thank you. So we'll take 2 more questions, and before that, Srilata has something to add. Yes, please.
So, when we talk about leadership development, we also are very cognizant of the vulnerability that is involved there. Like when a leader is given some inputs on what to improve, they need a safe space to practice and hone those areas of opportunity. There are platforms now where coaching is driven by AI. And it is an iterative learning programming that's baked in. So anytime, for a certain situation, the leader gives a certain response, and if that is not the right response, then there are prompts given. So it is a very personalized. AI is giving very support to ensure personalized, accurate, diagnostic tree kind of learning opportunities, which eventually we hope that can be leveraged to learn. But then, as she said, finally it is whether you want to really learn, right? That is also there. But it is supporting.
Thank you, Srilata. We'll take 2 more questions.
Myself, Haripavan. I'm working as a HR business partner for Reliance Jio. So my question to panel is, how is AI transformed the landscape of HR L&D? And what is key measures of it? We can say we are giving some assessment to the employees. They can easily escape that. Like they can use ChatGPT and pass the assessment. How to measure and how to prevent that.
Your name once again? Hari. So I think that's a very beautiful question. See, the point which I want to draw out here is, what does a machine do? It does 3 things. It brings in a consistency, it brings in precision, and it gets agility. For any function where these 3 things are required, it will perform, we cannot compete with them. I mean, them as in machines, right? So they'll overpower us. But there's an algorithm also that is required. The interpretation, it is required. So there has to be somebody who understands humans better, which is going to be a machine or a human.
Human.
So you answered it. So the curator or the designer has to be a human. With the wisdom he or she comes with, this entire thing has to be curated well. And that's where you'll have a lot of opportunities coming in. Anybody wants to add something more?
And I
Does
think
it answer your question?
I think he asked about if I'm answering an assessment via ChatGPT, then how authentic is what the input is coming. Is that correct? Okay. So there's a loop going on in the bigger world. There are answers that you can get from not only ChatGPT, but there are many other AI platforms. And then there are also artificial intelligence which can detect any answer from an artificial intelligence. So AI is spying on AI, and it can read out to the institutes or the people that were taking to checking those assessments. But the beauty of it is, then this AI, which is generating the answers, also learning that this AI is checking on me. So that's evolving and it's just going in the loop. So at any given point of time, with this tussle between those two, algorithm which is coming down, you will get caught. And people are.
yeah, I just love that answer. And on a very practical note, all assessments are proctored. You're not allowed to change tabs, right? It automatically cancels. We've just heard a demo of My Anatomy. All these are very practically baked in. But then, if somebody knows what is the right answer to give, even if they are leveraging AI or ChatGPT, then there is some intelligence involved, right? Finally, you should know what to pick.
Thank you, Srilata. Thank you, Shiksha. So one more question from the audience before we move on to so can you please pass the mic? All right, please.
My name is Krishna Mohan. I am from Vigyan Institute of Management. I can understand the role of AI in identifying the training needs and also designing the training programs. But all the time I am worried about the post-training assessment and the evaluation of the effectiveness of training. How would you envisage that AI is going to help you in evaluating the real performance post-training?
I think more than actually designing, which was already there in some shape or form, I think we all are using the post part of it much more than actually the designing and the assessment centers around it. So because what we are giving as a product of learning is made once, and then then people are consuming that intervention. But the answers which are coming out through the assessment, the knowledge check, if it's around say behavioral thing like how assertive I am or how my communication skills. So a lot of data is coming in from the learners.
That's exactly where we are actually using AI more than curating the content. Because what she said it was actually correct, that we are looking for consistency, we are looking for speed. And we don't have the speed or the time to go through all those information that's been coming and avoid the human error around it. Oh, I like this answer, I like this word, hence I like the answer. Or according to me, what assertiveness means would be different from what it means for her or her. So that's where generative AI is helping us. It's gathering all the input and the data. It's also these days understanding how the organizational value and systems are based in a corporate environment. What are exactly we looking for in those, and taking all that data and processing all the answers, and not only benchmarking them within the organization, but benchmarking them as global benchmarks they should be. So answering to your question, that's where we are all focusing.
Thank you.
All right.
Audible now? Yeah. So, I mean, we deployed a couple of black belt projects, right? And this was the time that AI wasn't as profusely used as it is used today. I mean, one of the questions that most of us get haunted with is, what is the effectiveness? I mean, we are investing so many dollars for this particular project, so what is going to be the effectiveness out of this, right? So, I mean, coming back to your question, really, we've using the AI tools and generative AI tools in particular. Some of the promising, outcomes have been delivered. So we go to the value, and I'm talking to you about leadership sciences here. We go to the value that if an organization is investing X dollars against a certain leadership program, we are assuring the value or the return at the end of 6 months, at the end of 3 months, is going to be so much more, dollar plus delta. And that's the value that we have kind of gotten to. So we're all familiar with Kirkpatrick model, right? We've known the 4 levels of the Kirkpatrick. Today, even in leadership sciences, which is one of the most difficult piece to evaluate, we've been able to, using some of these tools and using big data, we've been able to come to consensus and really articulate that delta value to the business, and thereby I think maybe stay in business.
Thanks, Gauri. We'll just pause this a bit. We do have a Q&A session at the end of the panel. That's when we're going to take the questions. But we want to cover the complete employee life cycle, starting with the campus recruitment. The reason we're going to cover that is we do have a lot of academicians in this group. We need to ensure how is AI being integrated at that level to the leadership development area, right? So may I ask you this question, Sudipto? I know that your organization does a lot of campus recruitment drives, and you do orient people and assimilate graduates into the system. So how is it done, and what kind of AI is being utilized for this?
So you're talking about how AI influences the recruitment system in the organization. Okay. So we are not, I'm into more of the L&D landscape, and few places that AI could really play a very important role is, I heard in one conclave they were talking about that when people go in for Viva, right, and they submit their papers, and even Ram was talking about that in an earlier session, that there are a lot of profiles that come in. So one is bringing certain profiles basis what is required by the organization. If that algorithm is there in the system, it would pull out the best. So if there are 10,000 applicants, we pull out the best 100, 200 for you. So that would help you to then, have conversations, and with the speed you are able to recruit faster. So that's one. Second is, there are certain qualities, cultural aspects that you want them to come from. So even if that is fed in the system, then you can get the kind of profile that you are looking for. These are some of the things that comes to my mind, maybe if anybody wants to add in.
I think just one piece there. I see Atul is here. So, I mean, the element of cultural verification, right, especially with senior roles. I mean, something that we have experimented with Harrison in the past is that will this individual who's joining at a senior leadership role, will this person be a good fit in the overall team? If yes, what is the probability? And if no, what are some of the minute aspects that we have to look into when it is hiring? But that's only for senior leaders.
Sure. So moving on to the next aspect, coaching and mentoring, Srilata, I know that CGI does great work there. So can you talk about what is that you're doing in coaching and mentoring, and especially the integration of AI in coaching?
As I said, we are, when we talk about mentoring and coaching, I think one of the most powerful elements there is the mapping piece. How do you map the right mentor to the right mentee based on the mentor requirements and the mentee requirements? And there is a huge possibility there to leverage, AI. We have not yet implemented that. But in the coaching space, as I said, there is an opportunity for very personalized learning opportunities when you use AI integrated coaching tools. And right now they are all available. And these are available with a lot of our e-learning platforms, and they're integrated into the coaching opportunity. Now, the next step to that is whatever is coming out as a heat map out of the coaching, let's say learning needs. If personalized learning notifications are pushed, then it becomes a much more holistic approach. Let's say, during coaching, it is identified that the coachee needs to hone their influencing skills a little bit more. And if the e-learning platform gives an indicative list of courses that are already available on influencing skills, then that close loops it. This kind of a process is already started. The beta versions are already there. We are all, right now as we speak, we are testing these to see whether it is possible. This will totally democratize learning. It will make learning anytime, anywhere available. And many times, this coaching works really well because coaching should be available when the coachee needs it, not at a scheduled time and at a scheduled, following a schedule. You have a problem, you want to talk to your coach, coach should be available. That is the power that AI is bringing into that space.
Sure. Gauri, anything from your end on the coaching?
No, I think she pretty much mentioned it, but the one piece that we've experimented is mentoring, right? Mentors are obviously in-house mentors that we have, and across the across the employee life cycle, the mentoring needs are different of an individual. When we get to know what those mentoring needs are, the intuitive platform helps them to articulate what their exact need is, whether it be a particular product or whether it be a particular service that they are working on and they need mentoring guidance. So there are mapped mentors available who are strong on those particular areas. Along with that, it also indicates what is the personality of this individual. So it kind of takes it to another level where it's just beyond the skill. It's also helping you understand whether you will be, as a mentee, you will be able to benefit from this particular mentor. Working hours, all of that is taken into account. And I think we've seen some good success when we've implemented these mentoring framework with one of my previous assignments. It kind of helped us to be able to see how we can leverage on our internal talent to be able to contribute in the work.
And that triggered a thought that I wanted to share. So while one is talking about the mentor-mentee process per se, but the tools and the platforms that are available now to facilitate this mentoring has a lot of AI baked in. We are getting fantastic analytics in terms of the quality of mentoring conversations, the sentiments that are around it. So I think that is where AI is also making a lot of difference, because we are able to take informed decisions. To Sir's point earlier on return on investment and whether you really know whether a program is working or not. These analytics are helping us take decisions whether we want to make additional investments in that space or not. with the tool being available.
Sure. So how receptive is your organization, anyone can answer this question, to the changes that we're making in L&D? Do you all have L&D budget? In the L&D budget, do you even factor a certain percentage for the AI-driven learning? Is that happening, or you haven't heard of it?
So, see, in the L&D budget, apportioning certain element to AI is one approach. I would rather tap into the talent pool of AI that is available in the organization and leverage that to help us drive L&D interventions. As we speak in my organization, we are looking at AI experts to help us do sentiment analysis of all our feedback that's coming in for the programs. We are leveraging our AI experts to actually train and talk about AI within within the organization. So all the learning is also happening with internal experts. We are using AI to also track our member satisfaction surveys and what is coming out as feedback for especially for L&D. I mean, because I am speaking about that, but across HR it's being used. So I think there are different ways. But Sirisha, to your point, there is a certain budget. We've made a commitment to create a lot of awareness around AI, and the budgets are definitely being used there. One thing that has helped our organization is we have something called a community of practice, and we've created an AI community of practice which gives us a view to all the prototypes that are being built, all the experts who are available. This helps us drive the whole AI agenda.
Yeah, so in Dr. Reddy's, at this point of time, we are full on using AI as we can, specifically on data collection. We started not with the complexities of it, but the simplicity of it. So any repetitive, ongoing conversations or inputs or information that we can gather, we started with that first. So that because we wanted not just to AI in that initial shape and form, it's coming with their own idea and a data set. Already is being highly regulated environments that we were talking earlier about. We cannot afford to have a lot of external data coming inside. And that has reduced the time and the responses and efficiency. So anyone who comes in, he or she or they have a buddy, a virtual buddy called, a person. And they keep checking on you, even if you're not checking on them. Hey, what's up? It's been 20 days, you haven't asked me a question. So there's a central buddy which will then can talk to you, you can talk about anything and everything. And then central buddy will then go into business directs or IT directs or L&D or HR. Based on your questions, we have your separate buddies. So what they do is then you can just ask them like a person you're asking questions, and with all the information within what they have seen within Dr. Reddy's, they are going to give you the answers for it by themselves or get in touch with the experts. So that has first increased the satisfaction of the employee that somebody's there. Second, it's giving them more precise answers. Repeatedly you can ask them. It's just in time, just for me. So it's my question, my answer. And it's then what an HR or an L&D can do is then they can focus more on answering mundane questions to something which can build, that time can be used to build and disrupt and rebuild the organization. So that's really helped us.
Sure, the long answer. That's okay. I think they're all enjoying it. Are you all enjoying it? Yeah, there you go. So, the next one is more about the technical learning programs that we have in our organizations. I know L&D is industry agnostic. It doesn't matter where you are, you still have the similar learning and development programs. So when you come to technology or technical learning, is there something you're doing apart from the traditional way of doing technical trainings, which is a typical Java, Microsoft, whatever, .NET courses, to what you're doing today? And again, the second question, which is a follow-up to that, is are you being forced by the organization to include AI into your learning programs?
Okay. So though my views are all personal and I'm not representing my organization,
I like the disclaimer.
I'll prefer to go with the disclaimer. But I'll answer both your questions. No, first of all, I'm working in a very nice organization, which where the mindset is that it's a very product mindset, and we have developed a lot of applications in-house. So I have that advantage. I walk up to any of the leaders and I can deploy their team to create an application for myself which I really want. And that way we have been saving a lot of cost, and the context is also well aligned. So that's the advantage. So the Kahoot, we have something which we have in our own way that we have developed ourselves, and there are several others which some of them I cannot talk about. Now, answering the first question, what I personally believe in after working for 25 years, that finally whatever that we are putting efforts in the L&D space, it has to finally help the learner to achieve certain metrics. Both the learner as well as the organization, the leaders, everybody should get what is in it for me, for themselves, and they have their own what is in it for me. Coming to technical sessions, there are few things which goes well with technology that doesn't go with game. So technology gets obsolete very fast. So by the time you come up, and I've seen that we have been talking to a vendor for a particular training, and by the time the training is launched, the version changes. And then the vendor at times asks us, sir, can you just check with the leader if we would like to present this version? It is the latest one, not that. There have been few instances there. Now the second part is what we believe, that learning is a journey. Any skill set cannot be learned in a workshop. We don't learn skill set in a workshop. We gain knowledge. The skill set is always learned when we start doing things in our workstation. And skill set, to get a skill set, how, is just repetitive. I mean, you have to be very repetitive, right? You go on, and there people lose their patience. That's where AI can help a lot. To have those mock sessions, to practice with the system before I do a final programming, find out what errors I'm making now, post-learning, right? So it can act as a very good coach. It can really give you very realistic information, and which is concerning that specific individual. Now the point is that one thing that we built here was basis the continuous learning that is required. So it's a journey. We came up with a blended learning, which is very common. People say that we do it. Now it was role-based. For certain roles, we created a journey, and it was a collaboration with business, with the leader, and the HR. That's L&D. So, in that entire journey, we had certain objectives that we spoke to the leaders, that what is that fourth thing that you want this person to demonstrate after he or she completes the journey. So they talked about few things. We then assess the proficiency level of the individual, because basis the proficiency, you have to design the content. Because if the proficiency is at a different level and you come up with a heterogeneous group of people, then it becomes very difficult. So that's where AI plays a very important role to bring people on certain pages. So first of all, what we did was self-paced learning, where certain content was given, they had to go through it, and we had employed the online course aggregators. Post that, there was a workshop. During this 2-3 days workshop, and it was aimed at the beginner, the intermediate, and the advanced, separate journeys were there. During this time, the use test cases got discussed. And there was first the trainer coming up, evolving certain models, and then the participants, they also came up with certain things, right? So it was a workshop, and finally the entire program, where the 70-20-10, the 70 part of it was out in the work, the delivery part of it. there we attached the mentors. We had those mentors assigned to certain people. So they were all from business. So they were trying to assess that, and the best part was that we had an orientation call where we invited everyone. So everybody knew what is the program that we are doing, why we are doing, and what is that which is desired as an outcome. So this was indeed very successful in our organization, and we had very good metrics. And finally, the people who gained the skill set, they were able to demonstrate that at their work practices. So we went to Kirkpatrick's third, and we are attempting the fourth also.
So Siksha, anything from your end on the technical front?
Yeah, I think we have, from the manufacturing side of it, be it pharma or otherwise, I think AI has a very big scope in the technical training part of it. We deal with heavy machinery, we deal with sophisticated, high-priced machineries, be it an assembly line or a manufacturing line. And if with the artificial intelligence, and people are building labs around it, and not only private big giants, but even the government-driven, like the Skill Development India, just recently, and it was wonderful to see the labs there. It's all augmented reality. Before you go and hurt yourself or God knows do what to the machine, you are actually, AI is helping you with your hand movements, with your fine motor skills, and how they're doing it. It was magnificent. So I think answering your question, Sirisha, there's a lot of scope, especially to the hard skills that we use in pharma. And the second is the budgeting part of it. I think yes, because if you don't do it, somebody else will, and you lose the competitive advantage. It's as simple as that. Some people do it specifically. I don't know which companies, and I will respect the forward thinking that they are putting it in L&D, and maybe your teams are. For us, it's a generic budgeting for any kind of innovation techniques, innovation labs and such, which then drill down to each other together. That's what's happening.
Sure. Coming from a pharma and manufacturing kind of background, just wanted to know what are the regulatory issues that you face or the challenges that you face while kind of working on your L&D strategy for you?
Yeah, good question, because the thing that you can apply there with Srilata, you can, maybe I can't, and I think Gauri will agree to me from either financial or pharma. We are highly, highly regulated. I can't even cross a road in my, in the campus if it's not a zebra crossing. Someone will actually give CT to me. Hey, where are you going? I can't use the phone. So it's that regulatory. So with AI, we'll only work with a lot of data. Where's the data coming? AI is learning from the machine language. What's machine language? It's coming from unreliable places. That's the first flag. The second flag is then learning by doing. So when we spoke about coaching the other time, how it is personalized for me is because the way I'm answering, it's taking the data and then it's adding to my way of working, my way of thinking. And that become biased. If the first algorithm was biased, the consecutive all algorithms are biased. So how I'm going to stop that? So that is why we say AI will take human job. No, at every intervention of AI, we need a human to check on these things. And then the safety concerns of it. What if AI is giving me God knows what, which is so not setting up well with the regulations of the world? So for us, it's become doubly difficult to even think about. The vetting process becomes too much, and hence, though there are a lot of LXPs and a lot of vendors available, we can't use them because our challenge is right now, and if there are those people sitting around, that we can't get a guarantee of regulated work because it's kind of, I'm actually going other way around with what they are offering me too. So it becomes difficult for us at that point. I don't know how it works for you. Is a similar issue there?
Absolutely. Banking and financial services
has to be very, very similar, highly regulated. Everything that that we do impacts the organizational repute, and there are obviously auditors all over the place. So very little that we can do as much as we want to do. There is a sense of constraints that keeps coming in each time we think of working on adopting a new tool or adding a new feature on our LMS. But having said that, I mean the good thing is that when you look at some of the aspects that can be internally developed, I think that's where the entire aspect of efficiencies is coming in, right? So today, stakeholders are reporting efficiencies. We as learning leads are reporting how are we effective. We are our own benchmarks. Last year we did with a certain percentage, today we are delivering an X plus percentage. I mean, that's the advantage. A lot of things get developed internally. One example I'd like to speak about is leadership effectiveness, right? So I mean, right from assessing an individual's skill, capability, doing a mapping with a 360, everything gets developed internally. So I mean, that's the comfort that our data doesn't go anywhere. Data stays in-house within the environment of the organization.
I come from the IT services and our challenge is a little different. We have to train, especially our early career members, to use AI within the guardrails, because everything is available out there. You just download ChatGPT on your mobile phone, type anything into it, the code is available, how to code is available, everything is available. And when we are using client systems and we have access to client code, for us the heavy focus is on AI and how do we operate within very stringent guardrails. Even to encourage them to which programs to learn, because every day there are hundreds of courses that are being pushed on AI. We take into consideration extreme caution and see what is applicable within our internal guardrails, what is okay to use, what is not okay to use, and very stringent measures are put in place. Of course they cannot use because the internal firewalls prevent, but they need to know that we operate within certain guardrails, and that has become the governance part of how to ethically use AI is also a very important element to be considered by all of us, because there's so much available out there.
Thank you, Shri. As promised, I'm going back to the audience. I know all of you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm going to pass the mic to you to ask any question that you have.
Mic with please, okay, start.
Okay, you can start, please. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, good afternoon. Myself Samina. I am DGM Corporate HR for Diploma Group of Companies, a manufacturing setup. We are into electrical products. I actually would like to come to the point of assessment. The whole concept of L&D is to have a better result, better assessment coming out of it. But if I see, it's more of data analysis, data interpretation, and on that it would be really helpful. And when we are moving to the types of training that we impart, whether it's technical, behavioral, functional, I think it would be apt in technical. And what are we, how are you going to take it up with behavioral part of it? Because I personally feel learning in person, and to say the human touch brings out better result in behavioral part of training rather than a machine interface. And I think what we are doing right now is also in-person learning. So what's your say on this?
First thing is, in-person learning will always be better in certain ways and will stay. What AI can do is to take away the clutter so that we can concentrate on the things that we would like to concentrate on. Answering to your question, maybe in technical side it is easier to do. How do we do it? The behavioral side. Give an example. An auditor comes to an operator working on the floor, or a geeky person sitting just doing the codes, for example, taking it generic. The person has to mentor, or the person has to answer to an auditor. You need behavioral skills. There are traditional ways to do the training. We've been doing it and going it, talking to them how to respond, how to explain better.
but then we introduce the scale is too much. We have so many people across the world. How do we train them? Try to use the AI technique where there will be a system who will be actually interacting with you based on your answers. It will give you the suggestive answers. It will save it in the system so that you go back and see what the answers that you gave, how I can give it in a better way. So that was actually much welcomed than a person going there, because a person can go one time and I can't go back and I haven't recorded the moment when I'm speaking to you or Sirisha, for example. But if this was in a system with an AI driven, you can go back any point of time and see how I answered versus how I was supposed to answer, and it's revolutionary. So it doesn't mean a soft skill trainer is not required, but it means then I can go to a person for specific things. For this, I have my AI which is helping me tremendously, but I would say.
Hello, ma'am. Here.
Next question, please.
Hello, ma'am. Here. Yeah. I'm Chandana from Shiveshivan Institute of Management. So I have one question. It is open to all. How do you ensure that AI-driven L&D initiatives remain inclusive and equitable for all the employees in the organization?
Inclusive and equitable for every employee in the organization and AI.
See, I think AI ensures democratization of learning, and AI ensures personalization of learning. All the, it helps you get what you need. Like, for example, these days it's like scary, right? You're looking at something on Facebook and Amazon gives you a link. Do you want to buy this? We are moving to that in AI with respect to the intersection with learning. Today you're reading a book, and most of these books, they could be audio books, they could be, online books, within your learning platform system. Okay, I'm not even talking about what's available outside. Within the organizational context, you're learning something. You're getting AI prompts. Earlier, that would be under the purview of the L&D department. Today you completed this, now go and do this, then the third step is do that. Now the center has shifted, this power has shifted to the learner. Prompts are available, what you do with that, how much you learn. See, we are not even, many times we only get to know an employee has completed so and so certification when we are tracking the benchmarks. When we see that this individual has moved from level 1 proficiency to level 4, and then we check what are the courses done, that is when we get to know. Earlier, L&D used to say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that. So I think, to your point, it has become very inclusive, because no longer do you say, today you're trained in Java, you can become a Java architect only. You can learn something else. You can, pick up any skill that you want. And that is being powered by AI. So it's become inclusive, it has become all-pervasive, and it has become very democratic.
Sure. The next question from the front row.
Thank you. So I'm Srinivas, I'm from EY. So I have a privilege of looking into all the sectors. So I have a very interesting question to you, what we observe.
The voice is not audible.
Okay, so am I audible?
Yes.
So we are seeing an extreme quantum, right, in AI, right? So while we see organizations, we have not embraced AI at all, we are also seeing organizations that are asking us for cognitive AI, which is much beyond AI. And the pace in which these organizations are heading, I take an example of NEOM in Saudi Arabia. They started with AI, they went to Gen AI, and they're asking co-production in cognitive AI within a year. So these are certain things. And touch basing on ethical aspect, I'll ask a question. We received a request for reverse engineering of decision making. That means any decisions that are taken at a business level, the organization wants to know how those individuals have taken the decision, what went into it, and they want to diagnose whether those decisions are right or wrong. How ethical it is. Because this is a request, right? Ultimately, we will fulfill that. But I think this is heading in that direction.
Srini, you're expecting L&D to solve this, right?
any of them. So I'm expecting these leaders will be decision makers, right? In days to come.
It's a comment or is it a question?
But
It's a
I
question.
tell you what, we can't put it on AI specifically because every decision that we take, we have been doing fishbone analysis and SWOT analysis for ages. What did it mean?
Yeah.
When you do a fishbone, don't we go to the end? How was even that decision made? So if AI is doing it faster, what's the problem? That's my take.
One thing that we have been doing to answer that question of, giving that information to our leaders, we do not give all reports to leaders.
Rightly
It's
so.
a conscious decision of the organization because it can be interpreted and used in different ways.
Yes.
And sometimes so it is at a very high level that whenever there is a request for any kind of a data point, there would be a discussion, it will go to the CEO. They would get over it, saying why it is required, how it's going to help the individual to grow in the organization. And once there are certain things which get answered, only then it is given. So that is something that we consciously follow.
I think I would second that because see there is a confidentiality clause also, right? Suppose we are doing psychometrics, for example, then the information only goes to the learner. Even the manager is only getting a gist. The debriefing is restricted to the learner. So there are it depends on the culture, it depends on what are the caveats, depends on why we are, if the process you are talking about is for a learning intervention, then you need to mask all the data, who took which decision, why, and use it as a case study to understand the best practices. But anything beyond that, I don't know where it will fall within the ethical purview.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Going back to my experience with one of the financial services firm that I worked with, we used to conduct this competency assessment frameworks or metrics for people within the organization. We used to come up with a heat map. This heat map is just informative, indicative information for the leaders to see how the entire function is working. That wouldn't talk about a Siksha or a Sirisha performing in a certain area. That was the conditional clause we had with the leadership there before we implemented this at a global level. So typically L&D is an advisory firm, or you would call it as an advisory function to the leadership, but not a team which just, delegates or, shares the information verbatim with the leadership. So that's my take.
Sirisha madam.
We have a company, there's a company that sells 500 people, and they require 10 people in my talent acquisition. What I'm asking is, in the future, for the people, all the tech trainers and the non-tech trainers, the talent acquisition people, will there be increase of opportunities?
We can. Okay, I'll let you answer.
This is a typical question that we always get, asked, right? Each time we talk about AI, I think there's this certain fear. So my answer always is, if you want to move up the value chain, if you are going to move up the value chain, there is certainty that you will be in business. If you stay today where you are, tomorrow I'm sure a machine will take over. So to your specific example, if there are 10 trainers, I'm sure trainers, we all are learning professionals, we like to invest in our own self first. If we don't develop, obviously our jobs will be taken over. If we continue to develop our own acumen and we are relevant in the industry, I'm sure nothing can take over our jobs.
Correct. Okay, I have few liners, this might sound very different. See, there are certain principles from where we have to operate, right? And I'm not getting into IT, manufacturing or anything. See, this planet is for humans and other species. The priority has to go there. Have you seen the Planet of Apes? There the priority was on the apes, not the humans. Now, we do not want to get into a situation like that, I'm sure, right? What certain consequences of machine is also some of that we don't know, whether it's causing, so if you go to an eye doctor, he will tell you, reduce your screen time. I can't tell it to my management, or leaders cannot tell to another leader. So we are going for certain screen time. The second thing is, everybody wants things to happen very fast. Skill sets don't get evolved very fast. It takes time. tell me one skill set that you can learn overnight. It doesn't happen. Now with certain tools in place, the burnout is also increasing. Empathy is decreasing. Why? Because we are speaking more to machines. The value system has gone for a toss. So, while AI has certain advantages, and I had attended one conclave in Bangalore, and there they were heavily discussing whether we should invest in AI or not, and there were two schools of thoughts. So one is that we have to invest in AI, because if we don't invest, and especially in cybersecurity and the ethical, they were trying to frame up certain, documents there on what would be the standards that we will follow, what should be followed, what should not be followed, like what you said, can we give this, what can be done. We are also talking about the good and the bad. So the bad element will continue to evolve themselves. They will use AI, they will use everything. You have to protect yourself also. So even if you want, you don't want, you have to get into that. If it is a small sized organization, the human touch is always better. But you can use AI to your advantage to personalize certain things. Like say if I'm a coach, and I've got 100 coaches, which cannot be there, right? So if I have to schedule certain things, my machine can schedule those things. They can find out, or they can bring people to certain standards before the specialist walks in. So we have to see how we balance it up. But yes, there are other aspects also which are entering, it's like a time bomb.
Sirisha madam.
Yeah, we take one last question.
Last question from Backbenchers, please. I am representing Backbenchers Association of India.
Dakshinamurthy garu, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. My question is related to mentoring. The esteemed panel has spoken about the prominence of mentoring. So, and my name is Srinivasa, and I've been working with a company called CR Tech for over 2 years now. My current designation is Learning and Development Specialist. So, in case we don't get enough support at workplace, or in case we don't have any mentor assigned, are there any ways that we can help ourselves to increase the knowledge and step ahead ladder in the L&D space?
So whatever happens within the organization are the formal mentoring processes, okay? But you have, and we are a lucky generation, you have so many other opportunities. You have LinkedIn, you have, forums like this where you can actually seek out mentors, and anytime anybody asks, at least in my case, and I'm sure that stands for all of us, we have never said no to any mentee. And I have personally had a mentor in my life for the last 30 years, and I'm very indebted to her for having guided me through my career journey. I met her as a student. She still continues to be my mentor, and so I think it is just ask. That's all I would say. Reach out and ask.
Yeah, I'd just like to add something. Organizations don't take care of your career. It's up to you. You need to go out and seek your mentors. For me, within the organization, I didn't find a mentor, so I went to Sri Lanka, requesting her to be my mentor. So that's how things happen.
Got it.
Okay.
I mean, are there any
one last question here, and then we'll close the session.
Just one more thing. So while she came to me and asked me to be her mentor, we are also reverse mentored many times. So that is also very important to know.
So is there any AI platform for us for L&D especially, is there any particular tool?
Yes, there are platforms. We will discuss that. We will give a chance to another person. But please reach out to us. We are outside the room. We are going to spend some time with you.
Sure, go ahead.
Thanks for giving me the chance.
Last week, closing.
Looks like we're short of time, so I'm trying to make it quick. So any concept that comes from the Western world, like AI and all, including something like a pizza, we look at it and say, okay, this is all good, but let's put some tandoori chicken on it. So what are you seeing on the Indianization of an AI? I mean, do the models that come from the Western world fit the way you want Indian leaders to be taught? Because the emotional intelligence of Indian leaders is a little different. You all represent different companies from different verticals. So do a stock AI model. What does an AI leader needs to know to assess the AI model itself? And whether do you see they falling short of catering to Indian culture, personal mannerisms and things like that?
If I may just, kind of, since I'm seeing, certain aspects of leadership and soft skills coming in here, one thing that we ensure, whether it's a DEI program or it is any leadership program that gets rolled out in our specific geographies, the case studies, the examples, the situations are highly contextualized. It doesn't make sense to talk about a DEI situation in India, and the case is taken from the West. It doesn't hold good at all, right? So, we definitely are true to our own work that we do, and we highly contextualize it to be able to make it relevant. And I think business plays a very critical role, because the partnership that the learning professional has with business, when we really take those cases which have happened at workplace, that's when it becomes relevant. That was my 2 cents.
So we are at the top of the hour. I think we'll conclude the session, but we'll continue to take this discussion outside the room. I know that I'm standing in between a very interesting segment, which is a stand-up comedy. So after that, we do have a networking break for 30 minutes outside. I would request all of you to spend some time there, reach out individually and see if you can support them in this. Thank you so much.
సో అది ఫ్రెండ్స్ ఈ వీడియో స్పెషల్. సో ఈ వీడియో మీకు నచ్చింది అనుకుంటున్నాను. ఇందులో ఇంకొక సిరీస్ కూడా ఉంది. అది ఏంటి అనేది నేను నెక్స్ట్ వీడియోలో చేస్తాను. అది ఇంకొక వీడియోలో అప్లోడ్ చేస్తాను. అది మార్నింగ్ సెషన్. ఇప్పుడు అప్లోడ్ చేసింది ఈవినింగ్ సెషన్. సో నేను మార్నింగ్ సెషన్లో మొత్తం హాల్ ఫుల్ అయిపోవడం వల్ల నాకు స్పేస్ దొరకలేదు కూర్చోడానికి. సో కొంతవరకు కొన్ని పార్ట్స్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఉన్నవి నేను ఆ వీడియోలో అప్లోడ్ చేశాను. సో ఆ వీడియో కూడా 1 or 2 daysలో నేను అప్లోడ్ చేస్తాను. సో ఆ వీడియో కూడా మిస్ కాకుండా చూడండి. ఇలాంటి మంచి కంటెంట్ మన దగ్గర చాలా దొరుకుతుంది. సో ఎవరైతే ఈ వీడియో చూస్తూ సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయడం వల్ల వాళ్ళు సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయండి. నలుగురికి ఉపయోగపడుతుంది అనుకున్న వాళ్ళకి షేర్ చేయండి. ఇలాంటి మంచి వీడియోస్కి మన వీడియోలో వస్తూనే ఉంటాయి. సో స్టే ట్యూన్ టు అవర్ ఛానల్ రూబిక్స్ హెల్పింగ్ హ్యాండ్. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్. లవ్ యూ ఆల్.